Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum, dear students. I am Khalid Iqbal. In this lecture series of World Economic History, here we will discuss the ancient economic ideas. The Western civilization and economic ideas originated from the Greece. The Greeks influenced the Western civilization and economic ideas remarkably. At those times, approximately 500 to 800 years before Christ, there was economic activity, local trade, and long distance trade. The mainly traded goods were wine, olive oil, and other various grains. This was not a market economy. In market economy, personal interest prevails. In other words, we can say that the pursuit of individual self-interest is the hallmark of market economy. The Greeks elevated the community over individuals. So, the economic insight starts from the Greek. Here we will discuss the few famous economists, philosophers, and thinkers. First of all, we discuss the Hesiod. Hesiod was the famous poet of Greece. He was contemporary of Homer, and his first economic essay, Works and Days, is known as the first economic essay, and he is also known as the first non-economist. Hesiod introduced the concepts of scarcity, choice, and resource allocation. Hesiod believed that gods withheld the means of life, and in this way scarcity created, and men had to make the choices, and they had to determine the resource and labor allocation. So he also was opened of that in through resource allocation and through the hard work, these hardships can be conquered, and these hardships can be alleviated. After Hesiod, we discuss the Xenophon. Xenophon was the famous who wrote Oeconomicus and Works and Means. These famous books were of the Xenophon. Oeconomicus means the art of household. Xenophon was the first person, he was the first economist that explained that there should be balance between desires and materials. If there is not a balance, even the rich persons may be in the miserable conditions. He believed that wealth can be earned through the basic industry, and he also was opened up that agriculture and husbandry are the main sources of the economic activities. He was also the promoter of the labor allocation and division of the labor. After that, we discuss the Plato. The Republic was his famous book, and Plato was also the promoter of division of labor. Plato believed that the prime objective of the government is to make the citizens virtuous and ensure their material and moral welfare. Plato divided the society into three groups or three classes, and these were the rulers, soldiers, and remaining ones. The remaining ones were those that were involved in the economic activities. He was opened up that for the welfare of the society, for the welfare of the state, all these classes should work commonly to elevate the prime objective of the state. He believed that rulers should be virtue of wisdom, the soldiers will be virtue of bravery, and the remaining one should be virtue of the moderation. After Plato, there was Aristotle. Aristotle was the pupil of Plato, and he wrote the Politics. Aristotle was the person who elaborated the economic activity, and he divided the economic activity in two kinds. You can say productive economic activities and distributive economic activities. In other words, these terms can be synonymed by money earning and money spending. Aristotle was against usury. He declared the interest a sinful act, and he was in the favor that the prices should be fair, and if someone gets more price, then he is committing a sin. The Aristotle was also in the view that there should be division of labor, and contrary to the Plato, Aristotle was in favor of private property. He also elaborated the private property rights. After Aristotle, there was the Saint Aquinas. He was the first person who introduced the ethics in the economic analysis. He was the staunch promoter of the just or fair prices. He was that the price should be fair and it should be determined by the both parties, and uh, this determination should not be under any strain. Saint Aquinas also declared usury as unethical, unlawful, and sinful. He was in favor of just profit, and this just profit was in this way that a producer can earn a little bit more price but not a unjust price. So still the Saint Aquinas insight of ethic little bit prevails in today's modern economics. After that, there was the Ibn Khaldun. This was the renowned Muslim scholar, and he wrote Al Muqaddimah, and he was in favor of the division of labor. He was the person who first elaborated the uh, uh, property rights. He was the person who gave the idea of tax, and his idea of tax still is very synonym to the Laffer curve. So he also contributed to the economic side in a great way. After that, we preview the Copernicus. Copernicus was the famed and renowned scholar. He gave the counsel and he advised to the king of Scotland that if there is abundance of the money, then its value depreciates. In other words, you can say that this was the forerunner of the classical theory of quantity theory of money, and in this way still its insight exists in today's modern economics. After that, there is also a great name, Navarus. Navarus was the person who first said that if merchandise is short, its price appreciates, or if there is an abundance of merchandise, then its value depreciates. He also declared the money as the sterile medium of exchange, and its own dynamics prevail. So in this very few in descriptions, we can say that today's modern economics seek still seeks the economic insight from these great philosophers. Very simple examples I will give you, that Aristotle was that he was in favor of the personal property rights, and he prompted that if there is a common property, then no one will care it, and no one will take the responsibility of the property, and no one will try to improve it. This insight still exists, and in 2009, the famous economist Elinor Ostrom got a Nobel Prize in 2009 on the topic of tragedy of commons. So, tragedy of commons theory seeks insight from this Aristotle's insight and Laffer curve. Then if you increase the rate of interest, then there will be the low amount of the tax or low revenues, and if you decrease the rate of tax, then there will be more revenues. This is a famous Laffer curve, and this Laffer curve seeks insight from the Ibn Khaldun's tax principles and his views about taxes. And third one is the famous quantity theory of money, that if you double the quantity of money, then there will be a inflation and the value of money will be halved, and if you halve the money supply, then money appreciates and its value will be doubled. This famous QTM seeks insight from the Copernicus views. So these ancient great philosophers influenced the modern economics, and their insight still prevails in this modern economics. Thank you very much.